Hi, Chelsea Grossman again, in my own personal response to the week 2 group discussion. I first watched my group's video and made some notes of my own. In this group video, Tiffany started by discussing what she thought of authoritarian leadership, how it's the authoritarian leader that she had that she spoke about kind of just stuck you in a role, and something that she said that I really liked was that you're part of their plan, and I definitely agree with that. I've had as a shift supervisor, like, I'm not the store manager, it's not my store, but each shift of mine is my own. It's mine to manage and put people in their roles, and I have always, this is just kind of naturally how I operate, but I always let everyone know kind of what I'm thinking. It kind of drives them nuts because they don't really, most of the time, at least at this store, most of the time they don't really care what I'm doing or like why I'm putting them where. They're kind of just like, tell me where to go, Chelsea, shut up. But I've kind of been conditioned, I guess, from my last store, like, to tell them every move that I'm making and why I'm putting them where I am, and if I switch people, I always tell them why. And even someone today said to me, he was like, "You don't have to explain yourself to me." And I feel like, I can't do this without them. It's a team effort. I want to be the one to put them in these roles, but I have very well thought out reasons as to where everyone's going and why. But it is kind of funny to me because I got into a fight with someone at my last store because she was a long time barista. I guess she had been a shift supervisor at one point, but she was very high anxiety and needed to know exactly what was going on at all times, like who was where and what was my goal, what was my kind of game plan. And so in order to avoid conflict with her, I got in the habit of pretty much just telling her every move that I was making and when and why and who and what, and just everything was very out loud. And in the end, it became second nature to me, and they operated a lot better because there had been some resentment if they thought I was leaving them alone for no reason, like as if that had been something they had been used to, people just kind of going off on their own without involving the group. So they responded well to me being like keeping them in the loop on everything that I did. Now this store, I have been starting to pick up on the fact that like they don't respond or really care at all when I tell them I'm going to go do this, I'll be right back, or I'm going to put you here, and then her there, or hey, I know I just put you in this spot, but do you mind switching with me, or do you switch with her for this reason? And they really could care less. They're like, Chelsea, I don't care. Just tell me where to go so we can, do what we do. It's usually the same crew every day, pretty much, and they're a great group of people. We have fun, but it's very, very different dynamics, and I will still tell them where I'm going, what I'm doing. Because just by habit, I'd rather they know. I don't, we're a team. We work together. Just because I call the shots doesn't mean like they're not their business. It makes a difference, I think. It makes a difference in their day, in their environment, if they know that. It makes them have more confidence in me. It makes me have more control over the entire situation and not just like what I'm doing in the moment. I'm telling them everything that I'm doing, but it keeps me connected to them. So not only am I saying this is what I'm doing, but it's also while I'm doing this is what should be happening. This is what you should be doing, or this is what we're aiming for, whatever the case may be. It's very out loud, and it will continue to be that way. That's just how I prefer to do things anyway. Now, I think that makes a difference also, letting people know that you're there for them, being open and out loud and very, like, sort of candid. it kind of creates a rapport of just a friendliness, of openness, of comfort. The more I find that I'm voice my thoughts and operations with my team, I feel like, or at least I hope that that makes them more comfortable asking me questions like, hey, where do you want me? Or hey, what happens when this happens? Or what should we do now? Or instead of just everyone working silently and kind of ending up where they end up, they know that I'm very much in charge of, in control of what's going on. I care about all parts of the operation. So ask me. I'm more than happy to explain to you why I'm doing what I'm doing or what it is that's happening next, whatever the question. Something Tiffany had also said about this authoritarian leader she had was very impersonal. There's not a group involvement. She just felt like more of like a pawn, like they're pawns in this leader's plan, and that's just not. I don't know if not necessarily like if that's wrong. I guess you could say that it's wrong. It depends on the situation. In Starbucks, in my everyday work role, that's not acceptable because you work in such small groups. There's only, at most 5 people that I work with. Typically, I'm with 3 other people. There's only 4 of us. You can't be just pawns. You're a team. You're a group. You're friends. Your family. It's you can't work so impersonally like that. Now, in a big company, I don't know if things operate. Excuse me. Better or differently, like in bigger groups of people. I've only kind of worked in this small situation. But I think overall, no matter what type of leadership, I think still that there should be a way to make people feel like part of a team. That they're still valuable. Maybe an authoritarian leader could still do what they do and have all control of all parts, but do it effectively and do it in a way that's not micromanaging, like a, what the words I want to use? Maybe they, take out the micromanaging part. Maybe they're in control of all parts, all pieces, all moves, but they still let the team members know that they're valued, and their importance. Maybe that can be some sort of compromise, some way that this. I don't like to look at all of the different like other leaderships as being bad or wrong, because they're just different. Now, what Tiffany had said about Democratic leadership and the people that she had worked with or for that were Democratic leaders, there was more. It was more motivating. There was more of a sense of ownership in what you were doing. It's more motivating because when you feel like you have a share in something, when you took part in something, to see it come to fruition, see your work played out, see how you have contributed. I definitely think that I agree with what she said, that's very motivating. Something a leader that she had discussed being sold on something, and the idea of like if you're not sold on something, then your team can tell. Which I definitely agree that if there's a goal that I'm trying to accomplish, if I'm in charge of certain sales goals or tasks or whatever the case may be, if I'm not like all hoorah about it, the team will know and they're not going to care. I mean, there's enough to do in one day that they'll find other things to do, or they'll be distracted or not, or fully be. You have to kind of, whether you, as a leader, if you're going to be a leader, whether it's something you want to be doing, whatever the task is, or something you believe in, a lot of times you have to just do it. And if you want to make it happen as a leader for a group of people, whether it's your favorite thing or whether you just don't really care, whatever, you have to sell it, you have to pretend, you have to play that role. If I'm in charge of selling all sorts of things and I'm not the biggest fan of this product or whatever, it's not about that. That's not my job. So my job is to just sell it, and I have to be this thing's biggest fan. You know, if we're selling a product or a pastry that I hate and I think is disgusting, it doesn't really matter. They're not hiring me to market it. They're, create its ad campaign. They're just asking me as the supervisor to sell the crap out of it. So I have to tell the team how awesome it is, tell customers how awesome it is. Yay team, cheer everyone on. Another thing that they laugh at me about is that on our, during our peak periods when we're really crazy and all hands are on deck and everything's moving really smoothly, and we're just, crazy busy and, oh gosh, clearly I'm sleepy. I'm an opener, so I go to work really early. They laugh at me because I'm always like, yeah, team, awesome job. Yeah, guys, you did great. Great work, team. And they kind of are just like, okay, Chelsea, whatever. And I still say it. And I'm cheesy and lame, and they can laugh at me all they want. But I think it makes a big difference. Like, if you just worked your butt off and think you did a really awesome job working with the team and on all parts moved as they should, everyone worked together, and nobody says anything, I can do my job without praise, but if you really just kick some butt and then the craziness ends and you turn to each other and, it's like, I would kind of look around and say, is anyone going to tell me I did a great job? Anyone going to tell us we did an awesome job? Because, we worked really hard and we deserve to be told we did a good job. I mean, I think you earned it. I think that that's a whole part of being a person and a functioning member of a job is, taking the time to tell somebody they do a good job. I mean, you don't have to, throw them a party every time they did their day's work well, but, saying, go team, you did awesome, I definitely think it makes a difference, whether they laugh at me or not. I think it matters. So, I think that was a long tangent on being sold on something in terms of democratic leadership, like Tiffany had discussed. Anyway, back to the topic. Carla had mentioned that her opinion of democratic leadership is the good in between. You're not too lenient, but still supportive of your team. And she touched on what Tiffany had said about being sold on something, and people can tell when you're not all about the team and you're not all in, which definitely takes away from the energy of the team, which is absolutely true. I've had managers who really are go-getters and are all about whatever it is that we're selling or doing, and that makes all the difference. It's National Croissant Day coming up. And I've had managers in the past who wear mustaches and berets, and they have signs and streamers and banners and all sorts of things, and they will talk your ear off about croissants until the minute is over, and they just love it, and they're all about it, and they're, yeah, team, we are going to sell 1 million croissants, we're going to win, and that makes such a difference. And then we're all like, okay, all right, fine, sure, I'll try to sell these croissants, whatever, you're being silly, let's do this. Now I have had majority of other managers who are just like, okay, sell some croissants. And then, I spent a lot of time caring too much about my job at the end of the day and taking it too personally. So I've kind of had to step back from that, and there's only so much that I can do as one person. So when you have a manager who is like, could care less and just says, go sell stuff, I'll try. I'll do what I gotta do to try to make up for that. But it trickles downhill. So whether I'm all hoorah or not, the team still sees that their manager, at the end of the day, I'm not their manager, I'm their shift. The store manager is who matters, and they see this person not being involved at all, and not being sold, not being a part of the team. And that's, they're not going to be convinced. Why am I going to work so hard for this if my manager doesn't even care? It definitely takes away the potential. It takes away from the team energy. The potential is great. It's definitely a lot less depending on the management style, but or whoever your manager is. But the team picks up on these things. They may not talk about it, but they know. They're like, oh, the manager we had last year, she was all about this, but this time, we haven't heard anything about it. We don't really know. So it's not like they're going to be like, maybe she does care. Maybe she's really excited about it. No. If she was excited and she cared, this manager that we have now, you'd know it. Josh mentioned the guy no one likes, the one that's no fun to work for, the authoritarian leader that he knows is not a people person. That's I think how authoritarian leadership gets its bad name, is that why does the authoritarian leader have to be no fun, no friends, no one likes him, no one wants to be around him? Is that, I don't think that that's a qualification for authoritarian leadership. I'm going to open my textbook just so I can read what the book says while I'm discussing this. Well, okay, so the text says on page 41 that the authoritarian leader provides infrequent positive feedback, exhibits poor listening skills, uses conflict for personal gain. Okay, so that person is not much fun and it's not very nice. Okay, so according to these studies, the typical authoritarian leader not only controls all the things, but also doesn't have that personality piece or that connection, communication, human part, which I feel like is kind of disappointing. I wish that there was a way to be that authoritarian leader while also being able to be supportive and not be the person that nobody likes to work with, because that could be the right style of leadership for whatever the situation is. This makes me want to read this again and see if it says that somewhere. And I missed it. But I think I'm very much like at least in terms of this, I'm seeing things in a very gray kind of way. I touched on in my last video too that there's not just one way. It's not black and white. It's not born with it or not born with it. I think that there's the types of leadership, but I think you can fall in between. I think that there's not one right way. It depends on the situation, what works, what doesn't work. Depends on the person. I guess maybe it's there's a part of me that doesn't like to fit molds. I don't like to be the textbook version or textbook definition of something, because it makes me feel kind of trapped. Like, if I'm the textbook definition of this, but why can't I do these other things? I like to think that I can. And Josh also mentioned that the democratic leadership is more of a group effort. There's teamwork, and it definitely takes the right kind of leader to lead a team, the right kind of person to lead a team. It's different when you're leading a hands-on team, like a team in person with Starbucks, when you're actually having physical people in front of you, or when it's like a virtual team, or you have a team of people, but you really kind of don't ever interact with everyone at once. It's all just a group of people that work individually toward one common department or one common goal. Teams are so complex and changing and not something that you can define. So I think that the right or best style leadership changes quite often. And I think that there's more than just these three kinds that, one's not better than the other. One may be most effective, but I think really it just depends on the situation. I could see the need or the benefits for all of them. This video is even longer than the last one. Like I said, I love leadership and I love to talk about this. But thank you for letting me do these alternate assignments, and I will be back with the group this week. Thanks. Bye-bye.